two teams still it's our game of the week. I'm excited. Hammering out their identity in the LCS. The Unicorns of Love and Origen. We're going to start by taking a look at the ponies who are on the blue side in today's matchup with Vizichachi, Kikis, Power of Evil, Vardax, Hylissang, and their coach Sheepy. Well, the Unicorns of Love so far, they haven't looked that fun, quirky, but still winning team that was unpredictable in spring at all.
They've looked quite flat in kind of my opinion. I was a big proponent of some of the quirkiness they brought. Just a couple of misplays here and there. Macro level doesn't seem to have been sorted out. But the one thing I kind of want to bring kind of a reminder was that in the regular split in spring, they didn't look particularly great in every single game. It was only when we got to best of 5, when it started opening up in playoffs, that the Unicorns really showed up. So I'm not all that worried, but certainly they don't quite look as impressive as their second place finish.
There's one caveat to that, and that was in spring split, the Unicorns showed up against the top of the table teams.
Right.
And they're not doing that now in summer. When we see them play against the likes of Fnatic, H2K, and Origen, they crumble over and die. And something that we just saw from that clip a moment ago that we saw last week is Fnatic is playing Unicorns are playing an outdated meta, an outdated style. They're going with a 2-carry threat. They're trying to rely on Vardax and Power of Evil. And truthfully, it's not working. Shen in the top lane, yes, it's okay, but they're not unlocking Chachi. Chachi's a better player than a tank player. And I really just think that they need to look at some of these other stylistic things. Look at the carries, play to win, not to tank and survive and not lose.
Yeah, and to go on that, one of the people and one of the big names in there is Power of Evil. Biggie hold in the spring split. MVP twice, I think, stepping up. Their big terms of versatility in the best of 5s that they encountered in the playoffs. But he doesn't seem to be going with the meta. And some champions that I think he would be really good on, like Azir, are not getting picked or even getting banned out on blue side by the Unicorns of Love. It makes you question his champion pool.
Yeah, it certainly does make you start to question exactly what's going on with the Unicorns of Love mid lane, especially when you consider that Power of Evil brought Varus against Fnatic in Madrid, and that was like one of the first times you're like, oh, okay, this is actually something that he likes to play. Why is he not picking up Jace yet? Why is he not on Azir? It's been many weeks that we've seen Azir, and they have just not prioritized it. As you alluded to, they've banned it out themselves in games when they could have had it.
Yeah, and I just feel when you look at Unicorns, they've somewhat stagnated in terms of their play. We're not seeing adaptations or growth. And this is one of the weeks where Unicorns are 4-6. You know, they are playing Origen, they are playing H2K. They can probably pull a Unicorns and go 2-0 and surprise everybody. But it has to be a drastic change from what we've seen in the 5 previous weeks.
Definitely, if we know that they are up against Origen. And Origen, they have done a really good job of defining themselves in their inaugural split. Let's take a look at the lineup. Soaz, Amazing, Expeke, Niels, Mithy, and Leduc. So they're doing pretty good. They coming off a 2-0 week once again versus Gambit and the Copenhagen Wolves. And as an illustration, they had a team KDA of 27 in week 5, which is the highest in the summer split so far. And just as an extra, Roccat was the team with the second highest team KDA in week 5, and that was 7. So Origen was doing pretty well.
Yeah, and the one thing that we like to talk about that we've discussed in the office this week is that KDA is a reflection of how few times you die. And what that number means is last week, Origen were near flawless in their execution. They played very well. They picked up multiple kills. You'll see in some of these highlights how Origen played almost riskless. And I particularly like Peke in this matchup against Gambit because he showed up in the early game, which is something that he's not done in previous weeks. So it's calculated, it's controlled, and it's well executed.
Peke's certainly looked a lot better now as the weeks have gone in, but I think one of the other real key things from Origen is how their picks and bans kind of played out and their strategy coming into the week. Niels was up here on the analyst desk with us last week and said, hey, we found ourselves in scrims with Civic, Kalista not available, we pick Corki, and the enemy forfeit at 20 minutes because there's nothing you can do from that 80 carry role. Sure, they let Draven through, but it didn't really seem to affect them. So Origen seem to be continuously improving in multiple areas, and that is what's keeping them at the top.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly expand on the picks and bans. It's actually a surprise because we didn't expect their team comps, we didn't expect their champion pools to be as diverse as they are based on what we've seen from the Challenger Series coming in.
Yeah, definitely. Also that Varus mid last week from Peke. Very nice from Origen, just showing a lot of versatility and trying out new things in that, which is good for them to see. They are new, they're not complacent, they are trying to push the boundaries.
Yeah, and that Varus that you mentioned, Shox, I know we were quite excited about that stat. How Peke dealt more damage than the entire team of Copenhagen Wolves combined. We just flashed that on your screen. It was just extremely well played and executed. And something Power of Evil's not done. I mean, Power of Evil ran Varus in spring. He's not ran it in summer yet. You brought it in.
Yeah.
Do it, man. Do it.
Yeah, we will see what happens here. See Power of Evil meditating. He's going to need it for this one. The stage is set, so we're going to hand it over to the casters for picks and bans.
Convention.
In a sec.
Thank you very much, Shocks. We are here. I'm Pyrotechnics. He's Crepo. He's Deficio. We're going to try cast this game. It is our game of the week, gentlemen.
I was just trying my
Very
Power
excited.
People cosplay.
Were you? You're battle napping, right?
Yep. Prepare for a fantastic game, I hope.
Absolutely. And these two teams, you know, Unicorns, you can never, ever, ever predict what they're going to do, but the last couple weeks, it's been a rough battle for them.
Yeah, there's one thing you can predict now, and that is a very shaky early to mid game for Unicorns of Love. They are constantly behind. When we get into like 20-minute mark, Origen is the complete opposite. I mean, it's a fairly standard first 10 minutes. Not a whole lot's going to happen in the laning phase. But then at 20 minutes, they get like these massive goal leads. If Unicorns of Love will fall flat again in the early game, I don't see them have much of a chance there. So they're going to really have to step it up here.
I think they are indeed as we load up into picks and bans. Unicorns of Love on the blue side. They will start with the Kalista ban and a Lulu following up. These are going quick, though.
I just want to see how well the Unicorns have adapted to this meta shift right now, where Poke is premier and Janna is such a staple pick. We saw Fnatic go first rotation, I believe, Janna, and they valued it a lot. Other teams slightly less, but take a page out of Fnatic book.
I want to highlight this Kalista ban here from Unicorns. It's not very often we see it on the blue side because you want to have that possible first pick. The problem is that Vardax is by no means the carry for Unicorns of Love, and it's also one of the reasons Unicorns struggle in the early game.
Yeah.
First picking him with Kalista might not have the same value as for other teams, so therefore they ban it away because they know Niels is going to take it. And the problem for Unicorns is they've simply been lacking carries. Power Eva's been the main force, but he's not always had the greatest performances. And that's a problem because Vardax is not the guy to step up in the early game and take it.
Yeah, and Gragas has been banned out. Rek'Sai remains as the sole tier 1 jungler. I'm still wondering what other tier 1 picks are up that we're missing.
Loads.
We've seen Alistar up a lot, but then again, you can match that with the Janna for disengage, and a whole lot of poke champions left, so we might actually just see that Rek'Sai come out, and I think that would be a fine choice.
I just feel like overall as well, there's such a massive pool now of what a lot of different teams consider the tier 1 champions in different roles. Echo obviously still there in the jungle role, if Amazing wants it, now that Gragas and Rek'Sai is gone. We've seen Ryze top lane. I mean, there's so many different ones. Alistar, obviously AD carry's gone. That's the key one. Corki then should come in from Origen.
Ryze did get changed a little bit right now, so not as prevalent and can easily get shut down, in my opinion, in lane swap as teams get more comfortable playing against the champion. I do like what you said there with the Corki because he adds a magic damage component in the bot lane, facilitating just normal lanes with a good early game power spike as well as poke later on. But it looks like Origen, they don't want to wait for their poke.
No, and this is the thing again. We have so many power picks in each role that it's so tough when you start having these target bans coming in. In this case here, you know, Jace was open, Alistar, we know Corki, we know Janna is a very contested pick as well. But obviously Origen saying we don't need to go heavy disengage at first. I mean, Alistar can still perform that role and just wants that Jace for most likely pick in the mid lane.
Yeah, I think the Alistar pick early up is it's just so valuable. We've seen what teams have been able to do on it just today in some of these situations. For Unicorns, we don't like to talk about hovers too often, but they definitely have to find some of that magic that they were missing.
I would have liked to see a Janna pick over Alistar here, Deficio. I don't know what your opinion is, but if you're gonna run Jace Janna already, you can buff up that poke, and Janna is just good against Alistar hard engages. You just reset the fight.
I'd almost just gone Jace Corki in my first rotation, honestly, and then if they took away Janna on the other side, I would take Alistar and say, fair enough, that's okay. I didn't really feel like there was a reason to take that Alistar here, but I think teams are still putting so much value on him because, again, he adds so much to these big team fights, more than just the disengage tool for them, but obviously Corki have been taken away by Unicorns.
But we've seen the Braum picked up here, and this is the first Braum, I believe, in EU LCS, if my memory serves me right, maybe the second. Very few Braum picks all around, and I kind of like playing it into Alistar because Braum usually is weak against ranged supports, but he can definitely punish that lane a tiny bit. And he's obviously good at soaking up the poke. He can throw himself in front of that Jace Shock Blast and put up his E and deny that one poke. It still explodes around him, so don't get too close to your Braum, but could be an option.
Does add a little bit of more appeal as well coming in for Unicorns. Now they have that Corki, so they have some poke themselves. Origen, though, explosive for them and clearly going away from the poke composition from them. Like, after Corki was taken away, switching it up completely.
It looks like they just baited you all in, like, hey guys, we're playing poke meta game. Nope, not at all, because finishing that up with a Vayne and Echo is so skirmish heavy, in addition to the Alistar, who kind of likes skirmishing as well.
And still some flex picks as well. I mean, Echo can go jungle, can go top, this Jace can go top and mid lane for them, so not showing everything yet, but obviously very skirmish and push focus, the 1-3-1 setup we're expecting. Lacking, in my opinion, some safe wave clear in that sense, but as long as you don't fall behind, it shouldn't matter at all.
It can be a bit of a risk, but we know Origen has been experimenting lately. They haven't really yet been punished for it. And again, you know, they're in a position where they can't afford to do this against Unicorns, who they themselves are having a little bit of trouble. Looks like they will lock the Rise in and the Varus. Let's see if that's going to be enough for Chachi.
Now the Unicorns are the first team, obviously since they're on blue side, to finish their composition here, and it's what we said in the early game, in the A block coming in. Double damage with a carry top laner to facilitate that. They have poke, AD, and mid. They have mixed damage in the bot lane with AP poke, so they finish that up with some more AP damage. Usually I like a Rumble here, but because the lineup on Origen side is relatively mobile skirmish heavy, I kind of like the repetitive snares coming out later from the Rise in these fights, if they can survive, if they don't get snowballed on, because then it is Origen's game to take. But overall, I like the Unicorns' composition.
For me, again, composition-wise, I like it if there's no tags on it, if we didn't know what the teams were, but because Unicorns have struggled so much in that early to mid-game, we're going to have to see a complete different team show up. If they can, however, we just talked about how Origen, it is a composition that can get snowballed on very heavily. Corki, Varus together is fantastic mid-game. Let's see where the center members looks like Echo top and Jace mid.
There we go. And of course, with the Lee Sin lock-in for Origen, have a bit of a bridge to try and get to that later stages of the game, see if that can work out for them.
Yeah, complete different style here. Origen opening up with the early Jace, indicating a potential poke comp. We wondered why they didn't pick the Janna. It's because they're not going poke at all. They're going skirmish heavy. Tier 1 jungler on the side of the Unicorns. Needed for an aggressive Lee Sin. Amazing. He can play Lee Sin, but they'll have to make something happen in the early game.
Skirmish and then also roaming from Amazing and Mythy together. These two guys have so much synergy. Same can be said for Hylissang and Kikis, of course, but Origen here looking to set up so many possible tower dives with a Lee Sin Alistar combo. As long as you have 3 lanes pushing in, there are so many options for Origen how they want to play that. But it's Unicorns, 15 minutes. That's where they got to start turning on the power. If they fail that power spike, they might just be forced to sit and try and defend in 1-3-1s for the rest of the game, and that won't work well for them.
That is a nightmare scenario for the Unicorns here. They are, however, going back to some roots. Chachi back on the rise. Last time he played, a carry champion, of course, was that. But that's all for us now. With the Rift ready and the lineups locked, it's time to load up for our game of the week. It's UOL and Origen.
LCS, I didn't know much about him. I knew him because he was hype.
It is stolen! Power of evil!
Actually, I did not look up to him most of the time. Even now, I would call him the top 3 mid laner. But I would never say he was like the best,
And there we go. The hype commences. The little bit of banter.
Yeah, harsh
pretty much
words.
video. Some serious shots fired there.
Didn't really look up to Peke. I think most mid laners, at least in Europe, have always looked at Peke. Alex, of course, and Frog and back. 3 elite mid laners we had. Peke has still been performing really well. When Origen gets to these late game team fights, that's where we normally see Peke really step up, except for last week when he got that Varus in the mid lane.
And looking at Origen's composition, we said skirmish, and something that usually goes hand in hand with skirmish is low range. If you look at the likes of Echo, Lee Sin, all melee, Vayne, very short range, melee range on Alistar, and then arguably large range on Jace, but once he starts fighting, very low range, and this is not good usually into poke.
Yeah, very, very true. Especially also if you look at the champs from Unicorns. We talked about the Braum earlier. The zone control he can create, making it tough for Origen. Ulti from Power of Evil, again, locking multiple targets down the rise. So there's so much CC for them. Let's see what happens here. A lot of members around each other at the level 1.
Braum is strong though, level 1. That passive can just stun you up.
Got to be careful. You have to be able to respect that Braum too, and we haven't seen it as much. We'll see if Origen are really prepared to deal with that in the early game. After they go fairly deep in this Unicorns jungle, they decide to back out.
Yeah, okay, so Origen looking for the swap, obviously. You want to swap into that rise.
Yep.
Don't want to risk that matchup to go out of hand. So Chachi is going to be down the bottom lane. Let's see how both teams decide to play it out. For now, Unicorns on the top side, but Origen is swapping down anyway. They've seen the members around these 4 wards they placed.
If you take a look at the last time these two teams met, it was back in week number 1. It was a handily lost game for Unicorns. 28 minutes, very quick. This is when Origen were on that big dominant streak.
It was one of those games where Unicorns of Love failed to capitalize in the mid game, and fell super far behind. This highlights the problems for Unicorns all split, and also the strong side of Origen is how you can accelerate from early to mid-game and then get these leads.
Chachi showed up to that lane early, took a CS. It may have influenced the wave to push back. However, I doubt we'll see an early freeze. But OG initiating the lane swap kind of by starting in standard lanes, as weird as it sounds. This allows Amazing to start solo on the weak side. And later up, or duo on the weak side rather, and later up they want to look for the dive on the Rise. They want to keep it down. #1 priority target for Origen right now is keeping that Rise down.
Which is why Unicorns of Love, they need to send the Rise to the top lane and just take the 4v0 up there. And when they kill the tower, leave Rise to have the wave bounce back to him, so he's up there, he gets a bit of extra farm, while we're gonna have to see Soaz then either get the wave in the bottom lane once tower dives, or he has to get in this annoying situation where he needs to swap back to top lane, wave is pushing away from him, and that's how Rise gets a decent lane swap at least.
I almost feel like it would be a waste for Origen to commit to the early dragon, even
I agree.
If it seems kind of free to pick up. We saw this earlier in the first game of today, that dragon, it can be an experienced sync, and you really want to keep your top laner in the game, because that Rise will be crucial.
It's simply not worth it to take these early dragons here. You fall too far behind in XP.
Especially when they can push in more turret than one. We've already seen that happen earlier today. As it stands, we'll take a look at comparing these two mid laners too. Power of Evil, he's got a bigger kill share, but the reason for that is what you guys have already said. Peke is the guy on his team that's not needed to carry, and Power pretty much has had to do the whole thing.
Peke is the guy who's not needed to carry in the early to mid game. He's the guy for late game, but Origen had so many one-sided games in the start of the split that we never really got to see Peke do a whole lot, but he has showed up when needed. And as I mentioned earlier, his Varus game, that's why he was strong in the early to mid game as well, and he was a big carry for Origen. Now Soaz is gonna stay, bounce the wave, and just stay bot lane here for now.
Yeah, and look at the dragon still alive. Origen realizing what they need to do in the race to keep their top laner farther ahead. They finish the tower first, bounce it first, then they move to the top lane. Vayne and Alistar, they can stay alive, they can stay even, and this is good. Get the momentum in the lane swap.
Yeah, a key thing here is how fast you take down that tower, because if this means your dual lane can return to the lane against the top lane faster, you can push it down and you might set up a TP play for yourself and dive them.
I want to see them take a page out of Fnatic's book where Soaz pushes in the bot lane, roams to mid, sends Peke up top, and then go for a 4-man dive, possibly, whoever defends that big wave they're building.
Exactly, and that's again with the thing here with Origen being faster. They can now push the wave, look down bottom lane here. Corki's gonna return very late, so there's no pressure on Soaz right now if he wants to make a play. But you also see Chachi saying, okay, I'm not gonna stay in the lane, I'm gonna go back, get that early tier. And look who's joining him on the way top. Hylissang is with him, so they are predicting there's a good chance of a dive on him with Soaz TP and just send the support instantly.
It is all about getting Chachi to a point where he can carry. He's gone back on a champion like this Rise. We've seen him play so many tanks. Now the Unicorns are leaving now for him. The issue is, will they get a chance to get him to a powerful point before Origen, their late game, gets out of control?
Now the worrisome thing for Origen is that UOL will be fine settling for a slightly under-leveled Rise as long as he's kept alive, and he's kept into the game now that he got his tier. At the same time, Corki is one of the best 1v1 laners when it comes to lane swap shenanigans, because he scales so well with levels, he spikes at level 6, he has a gap closer, and he has ranged autos against the melee ranged Echo. Yes, Echo is nimble and swift, but he'll still get bullied out.
I think Origen, though, is going to be happy keeping Echo in the side lane, because it's going to be so much about this 1-3-1 setup, so you need a stronger top lane so you can win the one-on-one duel. Obviously, Echo needs 1 to 2 items before he really becomes powerful. So yes, Vardex is going to be stronger from this, but Soaz is getting a one-on-one lane. Chachi is sharing XP, obviously. Mythi might look for something in here.
He goes in with the combo. Chachi's the one who's condemned backwards. He's still a little bit squishy to start things off. Amazing coming up, and if they stay under tower, Unicorns could be in trouble.
But something Origen consistently do when they initiate a lane swap is push the mid lane. Peke in the last few games has always had the pressure, and this facilitates it so much for Amazing to walk around and move in aggressively, because he can always strike with the backup of his lanes.
It's found Kikis right now, who's taking some damage from the Gromp, has to back off. Illy will help him finish that one off, but just so annoying to have to deal with.
I really disagree with Kikis here starting his Gromp. He knows Origen has so many members on the top side of the map at the moment, and he starts it, he drops low from it. Suddenly, Mythic can now start roaming, and you have a small advantage. It's a small thing, obviously, but all these things together could open up a play for Origen.
At the same time, though, Kikis can't afford to go to the bot lane. Soaz is playing safe, and he has to hover around top, else a dive may happen.
May indeed. Preemptive flash from Niels to try to avoid proc of the Winter's Bite.
But most importantly, they dodge the Q flash from Braum, and that is with one engage tool where he wants to surprise you, Q flash in, slowly you get a second stack, and then have somebody else follow up, and then stun you. Once that's out now for 5 minutes, Hylissang will have a very hard time engaging.
And Unicorns of Love now have at least bought some time for Chachi. It was fun to see how both teams were setting up for multiple plays. Unicorns ready to counter it. We saw the support follow, even Kikis joined that top lane instantly to stop the potential dive. Soaz is still getting solo XP in his bottom lane. I don't think Vardex is going to be able to do a whole lot to his tower either, as we can see here. They're just sitting and farming a little bit back and forth for now.
Well, the game has been a little top heavy. You do definitely see Soaz able to stay relevant, Origen in a happy spot. You see that big vote for them right now in favor, despite the Unicorns fan base. OG still holds the fans' hearts for this one.
You have to remember though, as we're approaching the mid game, not quite yet, but we will be soon, UL don't need a Fed Rise. They just don't need him to fall behind too much because they're running a double poke composition. So their main carries in the mid game are this Varus and this Corki, and 61 CS on Vardex. And I just want to see them use those power spikes. Once the
That's gonna be the thing.
hit the Triforce, we have some poke on Varus, group up on the mid lane, and there is relatively low wave clear. You touched on this before. They have okay conditional wave clear on the fact that the Jace can, you know, find an angle on the minion wave.
Yeah, but that's a tricky thing for him if he's not there. And that also means if he's using his shock blast on the minion wave, there's no pressure on dealing damage to Unicorns of Love. And they're going to focus more on trying to, of course, instant wave clear with Varus. And then he can focus on hitting champion. Double tier, obviously being picked up for Unicorns of Love, Varus and Ryze. So that is where they're going to be a little bit weaker. We always talk about this here, Varus needs a little bit of time for himself, but we're still talking 15-20 minutes for them. Origen instantly saying, you know what, there's no wave towards the farm, start dragging.
And this is why I traditionally don't like a Ryze, in a sense, with another poke champion, because double tier opens up for a very weak early game, but the Unicorns so far have done a good job. They're yielding their first dragon at 9 minutes, 10 seconds. That's definitely acceptable.
Yeah, it's acceptable for them, but Origen will definitely be happy with it since it was fully uncontested. They haven't really given anything up for it. Have a big wave in bottom that Chachi's looking to soak up. But for now, Niels is there to try and keep him pushed further away. It's going to crash to the tower soon, though.
Both teams going to mirror each other a little bit here. Origen is pushing down towards the bot lane. Only Source top. He might be in a very tricky place. If Kikis stays top, they can dive him if he's not expecting this one.
Same for Chachi. I would almost reckon it is better for Unicorns to defend Chachi in the bot lane rather than attempt to dive on Soaz.
Well, here's the thing, though. You just mentioned yourself how Ryze is not the key member for them. If they
that is true.
If they can shut down Soaz and maybe get a gold advantage through another tower to snowball yourself towards these 1 or 2 items on Corki and the Varus, as we keep talking about, it excels how fast they can then group and push down. But both teams gonna trade towers. Peck is moving.
Origen tried to fake a dive on the bot lane and try and make for a cheeky play in the mid lane where they hop over Race and say, okay, you Unicorns, you expect us to dive bot lane, we go mid. But it was sniffed out by Power of Evil. He hovered to the left side. This allows Unicorns to take down the tower first. And a massive wave here, not a wave bounce for Chachi.
They will manage to do it indeed. Mid lane continues to trade some farm back and forth. Top and bot continue to trade towers back and forth. And as a result, it has been all about these objectives. 10 minutes in the game and no first blood.
No, just a lot of focus on towers. And honestly, yeah, no kills, but still a lot of action in the way the teams are trying to mirror each other. And there's so many small plays happening where they're like, if you make a misstep here and leave your Ryze alone, we will kill him early on. But that never happened because both teams were predicting what was about to happen on the map.
Yeah, for me, this was a very enjoyable early game.
Look at mid, though.
Exactly played like it should. And here we go.
Flashing over, Mythi, amazing. They found Power of Evil. Shock Blast, not connecting, but they don't need it. And just like that, 3-on-1, and that's first blood to Origen.
Such a nice little roam here from Origen. They had already pushed the bottom lane, obviously, so they were in the jungle. No flash from Power of Evil was used earlier. First blood, that is very key. We keep talking about how Origen wants to make sure they are far enough ahead that they can set up these 1-3-1s or even just start fights. Once you get Talisman on the Alistar and so on, that Unicorns never get to sit and poke.
At the same time, the Origen can't capitalize with an objective from that kill. And usually, if you can take that mid tower down quickly, that opens up the map. They just get a minor gold advantage here, and the composition is still aiming for that spike. Couple more minutes, 14-15 minute mark is when we're going to see that Triforce come out from the Corki. That's when they want to group, that's when they want to siege, and they want to hit Expeke.
And with these 2 towers down, obviously going to hit even harder. Might even be a little bit earlier for Vardex. Still want to have that Vow Shining. No cooldown reduction early on for Power Evil. It's coming, obviously, later on.
Soaz level 8, Chachi level 7. Vardex level 8, Niels level 7. Traded experience advantages due to the lane swap.
Did indeed. Now, Vardex gets caught up with the Pulverize, but Hylissang is there. He's got his Unbreakable. Niels and Mythi cannot 2v2 him right now, and the game has settled just a little bit after that bit of action in the mid.
Yeah, after level 6, Corki is still one of the strongest AD carries, so difficult for Nils to trade with him at the moment. He has the Alistar heal though to back him up, but Unicorns, they're saying we have bot lane pressure, we will invade on the bot lane with our jungler, and this is very key if he gets this blue buff away from Peke.
He did get spotted as the Wolves. Oh, smitten by Amazing.
It's amazing.
Gets it. Varus ulti was used to stop Xpeke. So that engage 2 was out. Teleport on the bot lane.
Chachi, they're looking for Mythia right now. Now they should turn their attention to Niels. As he's in the final hour, he's able to limp away, but Mythia with Unbreakable Will on. They keep changing their minds, changing their targets. Soaz has to chrono break back. No one from Origen goes down, but not over yet. Kikis takes a shock blast to the face. Still battered and bruised. No one's down yet.
I really like what Unicorns are doing here. We just talked about how strong the Corki pick is after level 6. Nils can't really do a whole lot against him, so they keep playing around the strong lane. Nice shock blast here, but it's all starting with the invade on blue buff. You steal it from Kikis, then you instantly make a play on the bot lane. Nice little jump here to interrupt the kick. Oh, kick flash!
It's the kickback, and Kikis is slammed by Peke, picking up his second kill of the game.
Yeah, Unicorns doing the right thing by forcing a group on that bottom tower, but then once Origen is in position to wave clear and poke, they kind of misuse their abilities. The Braum Shield comes up too late, and then the flying from Kikis was unwarranted. Maybe Unicorn should have rotated to mid, group there, and then start knocking on that tower.
Well, if you consider the fact that Unicorns were already in a position to just hit the tower. You had Varus and Corki lined up. You had Origen saying either we try and hit you from the side or we can't really defend the tower. They could honestly just taken this bot lane tower, poked it down at least. No need to try and flank around.
Then Hylissang needs to block those shockwaves on the wave. He needs to predict that Xpeke is not going to aim for champions, but for the minions, you block that shock, then you can hit those tower because Peke is still in a position to wave clear right now.
But we can just see how Unicorns, they're still staying. So they're like, they had the plan. We're like, we're just going to stay bot lane. We have triple range. They have very little wave clear on the side of Origen, so we just need to sit here. Obviously, Kick is dying, set them back a little bit, but this bot lane tower is dropping very low. So it's going in.
Yes, he is. They found Visit Chachi. One of the Squisher members will
They got him.
Taking some damage too, but the tower's assist, they managed to pick it up. It is Mythi who gets the kill.
Unicorn so greedy. They saw the parallel convergence and they still got caught with their pants down. Good play by Origen.
We've seen this time and time again for Unicorns in the summer split. It's the small individual mistakes that ends up hurting them. It's not done yet in the bottom lane, though.
No, it is not.
Nice headbutt.
Knocks up Hylissang. Soaz takes a bat to his head. But it's
great ulti.
2v3. I don't think they can win it. Soaz is down thanks to the combo of Unicorns. Meanwhile, Niels, though, looks to finish off a tower up top.
Origen realizing they're not going to be able to defend this bot lane tower forever, so going to try and trade it instead and keep this 3 or 2 towers for 2 and just keep it even. Power Weaver, though, is taking a lot of damage.
Shock Blast knocks into the hammer, heals. Peke still on him. Chains of Corruption lands. He's going to cleanse it and walk away just barely. In comes Amazing, though, to mop that one up. What a janitor.
Origen is now 3,000 gold ahead, and we talked about this in the pregame. We said Origen, they're running a skirmish composition. They need to snowball the early game. They want to avoid this double poke power spike. And so far, mission complete.
Mission complete indeed. Let's take a look at where we are in this game. Just past 15 minutes on the clock. Origen have themselves a small gold lead on top of the Dragon, a little tower advantage. The kills are definitely helping out. And they are staying very relevant in this farm game. So everything going according to plan. The Unicorns still making some mistakes, but still trying to make plays.
And this is the weakness of double tier composition. Need to somehow stay in this game, get those tiers stacked. Because they're still down an acceptable margin. 3,000 gold is a lot, but into double tier, don't get too ahead of yourself if you're Origen, because while you have good late game damage on the likes of Jason Vayne, when it all comes together for the Unicorns, their poke and siege is going to be so destructive, especially when Hylissang can destroy these projectiles. He can just soak them up with his shield. But how experienced is he at Braum?
Well, it was one of the champions you used in the spring split whenever Morgana and so on were banned away from it. We saw so often banned this game as well. Unicorns out there back in the bottom lane. Again, it's the same setup. They know the wave play is lacking from Origen, so by keep grouping, they keep poking them in. There's no cross-map objective. Look at the bot lane here. I think it slowly is pushing for the Unicorns of Love towards the base of Origen. So there's nothing for them to fear elsewhere on the map. And they should be able to get this bottom tower unless Origen can engage.
Yeah, those shock blasts definitely starting to hurt here. Tower being worn away, but Origen still holding the line.
Yeah, Hylissang needs to start eating those projectiles.
Mistimed roam from Power of Evil here. The wave are just being killed from Origen, so he's now roaming down, but there's no wave to catch it. That buys a lot of time for Source in the mid lane. He should have stayed, killed one more wave, and then timed it with the next minion wave coming for Unicorns in the bot lane.
And with that, Soaz is going to be able to take down this tower unopposed, uncontested. Absolutely free for them, and Origen will grab even more of an edge in that lead. They still got plenty of time to deal with this top. The shock blasts keep on coming. Unicorns are not getting anything done for this investment down bottom.
And honestly, while Amazing didn't really get involved in that play all too much, he was zoning Power Evil from stepping back into his own jungle, back to his mid lane. This facilitated the push. And meanwhile, in the bot lane, Unicorns, they have to learn that they can't siege a wave or siege a tower where Expeke is present. They need to rotate away from him. He's the only wave clear from Origen right now. And they keep grouping up on him.
That is... And if Source is allowed to sit at a tower, he has good wave clear himself. Once you get that Morel Nomicon, you start killing the caster minions instantly with your Q. I believe so even after the changes where he lost a little bit of the AP ratio. But he was left on his own. Power Evil mistimed his roam, then he got caught out, couldn't go back. Again, Origen, they keep wave thing. There's a nice engage.
They found Peke this time. Teleport's coming in. He's going to actually flash away. Didn't have cleanse up right and available. A pair of teleports now as Chachi comes in. Origen still running away. Peke still landing the shock blast. This might be one of the longest sieges I've seen. And still they're unable to take the tower, but they got Soaz. Down he goes, courtesy of Vardax.
We've seen this combo before. The Rise Snare and then into multiple missiles and arrows just flying into the face of one target. Does get Unicorns a kill, but yeah, this A-Ram down the bottom lane has been going on for quite a while. And the tower is still standing, but not for long.
And Unicorns playing target practice once the snare comes out from Chachi. I feel like Origen overstepped their boundaries. They could have kept cleaning, but they tried to just get some damage out, but then good ultimate from Power of Evil. So many times we see that Varus ulti go wide, but he connected it, and it just shows if you take down the main wave clear, when his cleanse is down, that's enough to find that opening.
Managed to nearly pick him off as well, and of course with all those plays here, Origen finally lose that tower. They are still, however, maintaining a lead in this game.
Yeah, with that bottom tier 1 tower down, it opens up the possibility for the Unicorns to aggressively invade the Wolves from Origen and start rotating between these lanes.
We didn't get to see any of the teams really invest heavily into deep wards after this, or all of Unicorns went back to base. And Origen, because they were caught fighting there as well, couldn't like try and trade it for something else on the map when the tower went down. So that means for now, everyone is fairly blind towards the enemy jungle, only one ward for them. And that's very important when you play these poke compositions here. You need wards on your flanks, because that's also the way for Origen to potentially start a fight, talisman, and then flank in with someone like Source and Amazing to kick someone back.
We're hitting the 20-minute mark in this game. It's been rather exciting, even though we're only 2 kills to 4, and this is the stage of the game where the jungle support synergy will shine through. How well can they move into this open-up map and get some deep vision?
And there is definitely a lot of CC, a lot of knockaround that both supports and junglers have if they can combo these things up. Remember, too, what these two teams are fighting for. Origen, they're sitting pretty right now. They're 8-2, back in 2nd place with H2K's 0-2 week. But for the Unicorns, every game is becoming a must-win as they're sitting in lower on the standings.
Yeah, obviously aiming for that playoff. They have so many championship points, 70 picked up in the last split. Want to try and secure a spot at Worlds. That's what all these teams are playing for. Origen needs so many points though, because they got 0 from being a challenger team.
And Hylissang is finally finding his groove here. Blocked a couple of the shock blasts from Expeke, sidestepping the other. So with single poke, you need a lot of repetitive hits to make it work. Unlike the double poke composition that UOL is running, because both Varus and Corki can dish out multiple rockets and arrows, but for Origen, it's all around Expeke. And with that, you look at how Hylissang is putting his shield up every time. Peck is trying to go
Finally,
next to
though, Origen is moving around the flank. There's a freeze in the bot lane, no TP, so they can go in.
They can indeed. Amazing gets the kickoff on a Power of Evil. He's chunked, but not low enough. The heal comes out. Parallel convergence. It's not going to catch anyone but Kikis as Soaz goes in. Niels trying to finish this one off, but they can't find enough damage on a single target. Shock Blast just out of range of Kikis. And they're not done yet.
Origen were dancing around the mid lane a little bit here with both Source and Amazing. There was no TP for Source, so he didn't really want to go and commit to split pushing. It was only the top wave pushing in for him. So instead, they finally find a way around the Unicorns of Love, take the fight, flash down for Power of Evil. It's going to be very important the next few minutes.
Still very greedy play by the Unicorns, so they're freezing bot lane. That's greedy. They saw Amazing flank, and Power of Evil could have flashed to reposition himself and get kicked out of the fight, but he held on to it for some reason. Too slow on the trigger. A good shield by Hylissang right there. Even if the Shock Blast would connect, he would block it. Yeah, even though they greeted a little bit,
Lost control of Dragon.
didn't get punished yet. But it looks like they will now.
They may indeed lose this next Dragon. 22 minutes is the time on the clock. Origen looking to try and stack these ones up well. The rest of the Unicorns are away. Let's see if they can maybe attempt something miraculous here. Nope, not quite. It's smited out by Amazing.
And I want to highlight how important these dragons can be in this game here, because it's one of the ways you can try and force a poke comp into a big team fight. If suddenly they're forced to go in like and stop a 4th dragon or 5th dragon from Origen. At the same time as well, poke comps benefit very much from the different buffs they get. Obviously, the tower damage, the movement speed coming around. So by Origen getting these early on, it gives another wave for them to then play towards that late game. And it all started with that flank.
Yeah, and in turn, however, the one dragon that Unicorns managed to collect, this gives them the damage bonus on both AD and AP with a triple threat composition. That's all they need until Origen get that massive 5th dragon. So they're definitely happy. Plus it slows down that 5th dragon as well. So we're probably going to see this game slow down a little bit and become more prevalent around vision control around Baron.
And also because Unicorns right now, they really want to group. They really want to say, okay, now we start sieging up. Problem is, either they have Vishichachi freezing, or their wave is pushing against them, so they don't feel like they can ever do it, where Origen is in a position where they have to spread out themselves and defend multiple waves. Once again, Ryze is in the bottom lane, the wave is just hit it, they need to push that one back out.
And this is where I feel the Unicorns, they understand the game to some extent, but they're playing two different things. Usually when you play with a Ryze, you play for late game. But when you play double poke, you play for the mid game. And you need to make a decision, who do you play for more? In my opinion, they should be aggressively pushing their side lanes, manipulate their side lane wave control, and group up with the poke, just like you said, but instead they were opting to get Chachi a little bit too much ahead, in my opinion.
It seems like the Ryze is just here as like insurance. If we do go late game, you have a carry. Yeah. At least, even though the rest of the comp doesn't really fit in the same way for them. We've seen also the Rune Prison into like the Rocket or the Arrow landings like easy CC, but yeah, I agree 100%. It is kind of weird for them how they really want to use this power spike, but also have to be so careful because they have to respect the fact that this Ryze has to take all this time to farm. Also, Vayne, nobody's going to stop a late game in the one-on-one. It's going to be so difficult. Echo as well, so strong one-on-one. As long as Origen get to defend this mid lane tower and just buy time, it's fine for them.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter how much late game insurance Ryze can provide when you've got 3 big carries staring him down. Origen still maintaining this gold lead with Vayne and Alistar trying to push in. Hylissang, Vardax, and Power of Evil are there to respond. Chains of Corruption. Neos, 1v1 might be good, but try taking a 1v3.
Flash, anyone?
Hello. Yeah, you should have seen that one coming. One of the most telegraphed Varus ultis. Power of Evil lands another one, but greedy play by Niels. Should have flashed way earlier, and then at the end, expended it still. But this is the mark that your poke composition has failed a little bit in the mid game, is that this mid lane tower is still alive 25 minutes into the game. This usually means that you've made some sort of mistake.
Now though that you just killed the Vayne, you don't have to worry about your side lanes. You can finally group and start poking. Let's see where Peg will focus his shock blast. If he goes for the minions, you want to try and hit the tanks here. Flank is set up. There's no ward from Unicorns down here. They're going in from Origen.
So Mythy gets a massive knock-up. They knock Hilly into tower. It's still tanking the line as he takes down Soaz. You can't take a 5v4, and Origen finds that out. Losing Soaz, losing Mythy after what looked like a brilliant setup.
Yeah, it was a good flank setup. You see the pink ward down here in the bush towards the bottom side. So Origen could get the engage. Again, 4 members, you said it yourself, no ulti used from Source. He's built to split push with the Lich Bane second into a team fight, didn't get to use Hourglass, didn't get to ulti back, just got CC'd down, ends up dying.
Let's watch that again. Chachi flashes in, so this pumps the 4-man combo from Mythy into the parallel convergence stun, but then suddenly there's no more damage, really. I think a Shock Blast doesn't connect, and as this game progresses, I'm starting to really like this Brown pick in poke compositions, because you can jump to a target that's under pressure.
The guy who died.
And then you can proc the Q and just have that beautiful disengage. In addition, he's so good against these single poke compositions, because it's so obvious where the poke's gonna go at the wave. And then Hylissang, he's been putting up that shield better and better as this game progresses. So exactly. I'm a fan.
He's forcing the attention of Origen too. You saw in that fight that he was the one that they actually focused out the first. So you got to wonder if that was a missed call or just Hylissang getting in the faces of Origen.
That's the thing though for Unicorns, there's so many ways for them to lock down multiple targets. We talked about the Varus ulti earlier, also against these members who have to like dive in the Echo, the Lee Sin. Obviously Echo is going to try and jump back to his shadow, but that's where Varus ulti is going to be so useful.
You see on your screen right now, this is about that time that both these teams start thinking about the Baron. We'll see if they start moving that way themselves. For now, it's really been all about the lanes, and Amazing goes deep on the connection with his Q, but he has able to back out. No other pressure there.
And you see, every time he connects the Q on Kikis wants to interrupt the follow-up with his own knock-up. UOL awarding their flanks, and whereas earlier we were saying how they were 3,000 gold behind, but it wasn't too much. Look at the gold right now. Completely even.
Origen as well has no business grouping 5 members mid.
No.
Against the amount of wave clear from Unicorns of Love, that should never result in anything. But they're waiting, obviously, for the lanes. They're waiting for Unicorns to go out and clear out these waves here and then maybe open up. But there's a TP for Chachi. So you can slowly just take the first wave, then even go back, take the next one. And nothing should really happen for it. Obviously, Origen, the reason they're also here is because Dragon is about to spawn. And they really want to keep securing these dragons.
Yeah, Peke finished his Nora mana. Power of Evil is about 100 off, and look at Hylissang. The first projectile that connects, or the first damage instance that connects with a Braum, when his Unbreakable is up, gets reduced to 0. The projectile then gets placed in the middle of Braum, if he still applies. He's doing such a phenomenal job blocking these projectiles.
I really like the cooldown reduction build from him as well, just to have that as often as possible. Because again, you keep talking about it. His job is just to deny pick.
Let's see if they can deny this Dragon. It would be number 3 for Origen. Unicorns moving in position, but is it too late? It looks like it is. It's going down. The fighter lever is on. Kikis goes in, gets the knockup, but now the rest of Unicorns are getting cold feet. They're looking to back off his Niels right in the front. Final hour tumbles away from the chains of corruption, and Amazing lands the Sonic
can he
Wave.
go in?
Is he going to? The durations run out, and that will be Origen picking up that Dragon.
Amazing wanted to go in for the kick flash. He was waiting for energy, but then he saw what Kikis was doing. Kikis is always burrowed around his team and posturing to prevent these flanks. He wants to knock up Lee Sin. Once he activates that resonating spike a second time.
All he does is just spamming the A click there, and then he would get that auto attack and obviously knock him off from it. But everything about this play here from Unicorns of Love was just so slow, honestly. Origen was staying around mid lane because they were waiting for this Dragon to spawn, and then forced this poke come in to try into potential team fight. They reacted so late, ended up using teleport as well for nothing. Really dislike everything around that play.
I don't like this.
And really well played from Origen by getting the Dragon. Now this can be risky. They're caught in around this Baron. They're taking a lot of damage from it.
They can just rotate mid right now.
Looks like they have to head up top actually pretty soon. They're going to go back in a little bit
Unicorns
of
the ones mid.
Strange movement for Origen. Unicorns, if they can stop the backs here, they may be able to get an objective out of this.
Oh, he missed it.
Kikis can't connect the Prey Seeker.
Yeah, look at top lane. Top wave is big. We have double poke with a minion wave. Uncontested grouping up in the mid lane. Luckily for Origen, there's wards the Baron, but starting that Baron, I don't know what they were thinking with that. They're going to just sacrifice this tower for almost absolutely nothing.
The price they paid for taking so long about the mid lane, waiting to get to the Dragon and not pushing out the side waves, then the Baron attempt. As a result, they give up a tower. Unicorns actually now hold that in the lead, and as you mentioned, the gold's still close to even, but that pushes UOL over the edge.
It's been a game here where both teams like make one good move and then they make a misplay, which gives them a small advantage to the other team, and they keep like trading back and forth here. Unicorns wasted teleport almost by trying to stop that Dragon way too late. Gave Origen another Dragon for it, but then Origen says, okay, we're gonna start this Baron, and it gave Unicorns a mid tower. So both teams are constantly trying to like force plays on each other and then punish the team who might be slightly too slow or making the wrong decision in the moment. So like they're both like trading back and forth, and both obviously.
Seems like a case of tunnel vision, both these teams. Everyone's got a job on UOL, but sometimes they get too fixated on that. For Origen, they're just focused on trying to do too many things.
Now we're well past our Triforce power spike, obviously, since we're 30 minutes into the game, but Unicorns of Love have finished both their tiers. Rise is scaling pretty well. Jace poke is going up, 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 and up. And Origen, they don't have a real tank. Nobody that's itemizing just pure armor. So this poke from, honestly, for Power of Evil, and later the damage from Chachi is going to be quite instrumental.
I would honestly also for that reason, because there's no real tank on Origen, also preferred Infinity Edge for Vardax. There's no reason for him to set himself behind in terms of damage, because he's going to be needed later on with the triple threat for himself. And he's going to try and see what he can do, like keeping up with Vayne. He's obviously never going to match the same late game, but Vintage is a lot better there.
Honestly, I can see why you think that, but at the same time, lifesteal against some of the poke and just having another ability to slow your opponents down when they're rushing at you could work.
But that's the thing, when an Echo jumps you, like it's an instant gap closer anyway, so depending on like how much time will he really get to try and kite back. I mean, yeah, that's obviously why he wants some a bit more safety for himself.
Yeah.
I'm just talking purely about the maximum damage output, because Unicorns will reach the point where it's going to be more about just Chachi alone and his damage. And we just saw in the last game what happens if you start like falling behind against like multiple threats in Jace, Echo, and Vayne.
That is true. Obviously, this Better Rune King is slightly more useful right now as Infinity Edge scales better. Another Baron attempt by Origen.
Seen this before. When will they peel? The rest of Unicorns
like
have arrived. The flash, Hylissang throws down the fissure. Mithy might be caught, but he's the biggest member on Origen. Now everyone dancing around. Soaz looking to chase down Vardax. Chachi coming in. Soaz is caught. Soaz is down. Vardax picks him up. Kickus in the middle. Running wild. Kicked back. Hilly takes some damage, but now Mithy's forced to flash away. Niels tumbles backwards as he had to immediately bail out of that situation. All said and done, a one for none for Unicorns.
Origen with the uncharacteristic, I'm just gonna screw up that word. Origen with a bad Baron. You can pronounce it later for me. Yet again, and this is the second time, and this is not usual for them.
No, really seems like Origen is saying we feel like we have to try and force a fight. Baron is the only thing open for us to do. We can't group 5 and like siege a tower. Instead though, I mean, Unicorns love it giving you enough time to set up the side lanes. In my opinion, you could have put Echo in a side lane, you could have put Vayne in the other one and played a 1-3-1 setup, slowly pushed them down, and then always just played a bit safe. If you see Unicorns group 5 members and you're not in position to take a tower, just obviously disengage away, because there's no quick tower for Unicorns to rush, and they don't really want to rush the Baron themselves at the risk of Origen then getting in and getting this big team fight. So I feel like they could play the side lanes a bit more.
Yeah.
By the same token, Origen, you know, you guys said it earlier that their big wave clear is all on Peke. They don't really have as good of a way to clear the sideways, and they've been spending so much time fixated, grouping up, waiting for these dragons to spawn. So Soaz is down bottom right now. He doesn't have his teleport available, but he's in easy range when this dragon does come up. However, Unicorns are moving in the direction of the Baron.
So because, again, you had to blow that teleport before with this fight going on that didn't go in your favor, now Unicorns can say, if you go and start this dragon with like more than one member, we will just start the Baron instantly. But what Origen can do is have one guy start it. But now,
they may not need to. Amazing! He's gonna get caught, taken down. Niels had a bite out of him as well. Unicorns set it up and bait Origen, hook, line, and sinker. Now it's onto the Baron.
We'll see, I hope Unicorns go for another bait right here. Something I like doing is putting the Corki outside of the Baron and have him miss his rockets on the Baron. Fake as if you're doing it. Origen expecting another bait, however, though. Another block by Hylissang. Good unbreakable.
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on Unicorns. This time they will start the Baron in earnest, however. Half of its health. Origen coming in. Can they stop this one? Shock Blast is huge. In comes Soaz. Can he finish the job? Niels trying to kite around, move around. Mithy, Hylissang's gone down. Niels is the one who picks him up. And all sorts of craziness as Kickus goes down. Soaz dives back in. This time, however, he's going to have to flash away from the piercing arrow.
Very, very close fight around this Baron. It's always one of the problems for these poke comps. If they're stuck in there, Origen managed to stop it, at least from going down. Fool me once, shame on you, Pyro. Twice, shame on me.
Let's see what Chachi can get done.
Maybe 3 times.
Oh, he goes into the skies. Not enough. Taken down in the 1v2, and now it's Dragon time for Amazing.
Amazing definitely wants to finish that. I was like, of course, what about Drake? For some reason, you're not going for the cross-map Baron either. This is a 4th dragon for
They can still start it though. They're gonna start the Baron now. Amazing, still fairly healthy, but let's see the rest. Peck
What's Soaz in this fight? I want to keep my eyes on him.
Peck is down for another 20 seconds. Probably was fairly low on mana, but should have enough at least to spam his arrows and maybe an ulti.
Here we go. Arrow.
There's no smite nearby, remember? Amazing is gone.
In comes Soaz. Can't quite get it. No smite. Usually doesn't win against smite, so Unicorns of Love will pick themselves up a Baron at the cost of Dragon 4 for Origen.
This is very key for Unicorns though. Now they would get a chance to really start grouping up, have these Baron buff minions, and force Origen to just sit and try and defend. So this Baron buff can be very key for the Unicorns of Love. I really like the way they've been able to honestly punish Origen for not playing the map at all, and then they start a dragon here in the end, and Unicorns like, okay, we're just gonna rush the Baron. I mean, you have no smite, one guy is dead as well, they could get caught out in the jungle. So Unicorns playing it a lot more controlled, but we also got to late game where they have been okay this split. It's only early game and mid game they've been struggling.
It's very true, but that's often been the death of them in a lot of these games. When these two teams last met, remember, it was only 28 minutes. We've already gone 8 minutes past that. Unicorns of Love, we've been criticizing them in the previous weeks for some of their performance, but they are controlling well against a top 3 team.
Now let's go back to Champs Select where we talked about skirmish compositions. Skirmish compositions with only limited amounts of wave clear are incredibly weak against the new Baron buff. And poke are so strong because it becomes so easy to land your poke because these guys, short range, they all have to group up close to the minions to kill them. Otherwise they're going to lose their tower. And Hylissang gets very easy unbreakables.
Especially when you only have to really look out for Peke's Shock Blast.
Ooh.
Soaz has to look out for a lot more than that. Oh boy.
Nice ulti's used though.
Go back to heal. There is no Chain of Corruption. That will be on a relatively low cooldown as the siege commences. Hilly is still frontlining those Shock Blasts like a madman.
I want to see a Banner of Command. I think this is the ultimate counter to this Origen lineup.
If this game goes on long enough, we might just
buff up that siege minion and then place your Braum in
Do you really need it though? I mean, you already got so much great poke coming in. So as he's looking for that flank.
I just like it. Okay.
Yeah, it's a great item. I love Banner of Command.
Each minion is nice and big. That Baron buff is making the Cannon minion pretty solid. They can't quite touch it at the moment. Origen may have the lead in Dragons, but right now it's their base. They're forced to defend. Haven't been able to control as many waves.
Keep your Cannon minion alive. Just 4 more years. Eventually that tower will fall.
He gets it.
Peke.
Poor Cannon minion.
He served well.
Next time. Soaz though, once again, he pulled it out. Instantly. He thought probably that he was going to get snared or Hylissang would lock him down. Instant just ulties away. And there's so little Origen can do when they're sitting in their own base. Yes, okay, the base gates give you a small chance to flank, but Unicorns can see everything, and they every time just step away, land a bit more poke. This Baron buff here was so huge for them.
This is why I don't like skirmish comps in the late game once they fall behind.
Managed to get the tiers stacked up, and now Origen getting jumped on, getting knocked around. The double kill over to Chachi. The carry is back. 315 on the rise, and Unicorns of Love are looking now to march into Origen's base. 5v3 here. This could be dangerous. This could be rough for Origen.
Yeah, I'm loving this Braum pick more and more. Every time I see him eat one of those skill shots and just block him with Unbreakable, it makes more sense every time I see it, and I'm really loving the innovation here from Hylissang.
Braum is back, gentlemen and ladies. Unicorns of Love definitely controlling this game. However, they have lost control of some minions up top, as you can see right there. That should be, sooner or later, an Origen tower. Nonetheless, they are lacking an inhibitor in the middle. Unicorns of Love have control right now in this game. Nearly 40 minutes on the clock.
Yeah, and Brains over Braum as well. They've been playing so well with a very good macro game here. Whereas before we said Origen has been the smarter team overall, and Unicorns look shaky. They played an immaculate early game, even though they got behind a little bit. I would say immaculate mid game. Early game they did fall behind, but they managed to hold on. They were down 3,000 gold. Yeah, and it doesn't show at all.
It's just the same for both teams, honestly, in that sense. How Origen spikes so hard in that mid game, that's where they get the leads, but they're not always able to play the late game, where our Unicorns have to get to that late game point. The Rise pick has now gotten to the point as well where he is a massive carry on Chachi's side. So all the time they used on him getting the farm, and the fact that Origen never got to set up a proper split push. In a 1-3-1 setup, they never got to set up that split push.
And Haunting Guys finished at like 40 minutes. He didn't build that from the start. It just shows how little magic resistance there is on Origen's side. He just wants more penetration, more damage.
And doing more and more work. They're on the side of Origen, having some trouble finding the same results. Soaz has just not been nearly as effective this game. He's dove in, he's dove out. But that new Echo is just not nearly as effective, and let's see if they can maybe turn something around with a teleport on from Visit Chachi. He's going to land in the parallel convergence, but still Origen cannot go all in at this point. Still dangerous against Unicorns.
And Kikis has been phenomenal with his zone control. Constantly at the side where Origen is looking to flank, he's just hovering. He's not doing anything, he's not engaging, not overreaching. He's just buying time for the Unicorns to poke, to dish out the damage, clear those waves and get to the towers.
Now we get to the point there where Origen has a comeback mechanic. It's gonna be Dragon number 5.
Yep.
Spawning in 30 seconds. They've been staying around this bot lane for a while, but you can see Unicorns are doing exactly the same. Saying we're not gonna risk giving up. Nice interrupt on Nils as well. From Vardex, Unicorns will have control. As long as they can stop this Dragon here, then they should continue to be in the driving seat. They should go over. They don't even need a Baron, honestly, at this point here to keep pushing in with how far ahead they are. Or can be if they're setting up poke. Sorry, the gold is obviously not that massive. Otherwise, you go back and you start playing on this Baron once again for them. But they need to stop this Dragon. It's also a way for Origen to get back in the game.
they themselves can keep Origen out of this area. They've got them at the moment. You find on the other side as they started off dodging the shock blast. They've got a couple members on it. Origen have to move fast if they want to keep the Dragon control. They run in with Mythy. Dragon's nearly down, but it looks like they turn their attention over to Chachi and Hylissang. Hilly's gonna drop. Dragon might be on, but Origen are looking straight for these unicorns right now. Can they get any more? Kikis is low, but not going down. Mythy gets taken out by Vardax. Shock blasts are flying, but no more unicorns will fall today. One support for one support, but unicorns on the Dragon.
Yeah, that's the important one. Origen just moved in slightly too late. Don't think that any vision on it. Ends up being killed by Kikis, and Unicorns are happy trading 1-for-1 by stopping Dragon.
Yeah, they just bought themselves 6 minutes of time. Clean up this map, put the pressure. Kikis pushing out Xpeke, and now the top lane was pushed in, clean. Bot lane was just cleaned by Xpeke. Mid lane is pushed in as well. This gives the time for the Unicorns to move into the enemy jungle, ward up, prepare that Baron.
Origen have only lost 2 games this split. They are in danger of losing another one, but for the Unicorns, this would be a massive victory to them to prove that they do indeed belong in playoff contention. It's been so competitive for those last 3 playoff spots as everyone is thinking H2K, Fnatic, and Origen will be in it, but nothing's for certain just yet, especially in this game, guys.
Not a fan of the way Unicorns handled that. They went for the easiest bait, the most predictable bait in that brush. They could have just grouped up, forced deep vision, then dewarded, and went for far superior bait. However, still set up that play. They just lost some time. Ooh, starting Baron.
There's no cleanse of flash for Pekka here. He's going to be a very easy target for Unicorns to lock down. But yeah, that was a nice shock blast. Hylissang was not in a position to block it. And again, this is what Origen needs. They need Unicorns to be grouped at a Baron and then engage with this Alistar, popping the Talisman, and then just try and dive in. And don't give Unicorns a chance to like kite back to these 280 carries.
They lost mid lane control though. They can send Soas there. This prompts the return start on the Baron. It's the only option for Hylissang. It's a block right now.
Still able to block it off.
Soas TP.
It's going low. In comes Amazing. Can't quite secure it. Now the fight is on, but the Baroned up Unicorns look to try and push them back. Chains go out. Flying down. Down goes Niels. Now Amazing. He's gonna fall. Perma stunned, it looked like, as Power of Evil finds him a Baron and 2 kills for the Unicorns. Oh boy.
Niels with his Rek'Sai cosplay. Too much tunnel vision right there. Just walks into the enemy team and straight up drops. I feel like OG was flustered by the fact that they lost the Baron and didn't know how to proceed afterwards.
And as soon as you get in that close, again, we keep highlighting the Braum CC snare from Ryze. I mean, Ryze late game, so almost have that perma root he used to have before. Just a little bit longer cooldown, but then there's so much CC overall from Unicorns. Now another Baron, that should be all they need to push in.
Let's see if they can indeed do it. They have their sight set on top inhibitor. They will grab it. Origen are paying the price of some of their strange picks here. Another inhib will fall. Unicorns can start to look towards their end game. 2 inhibs down, 45 minutes on the clock. The gold lead, it's gone up to 5. It's really been a lot of back and forth, but not telling that whole story. That Baron buff, Unicorns can continue to do some work.
It's great to see them play around this late game. Not taking any chances, really. With the way they were setting up this Dragon way in advance. They knew when Origen was moving in the Baron as well. At first, disengage at first, then see, okay, Source is pushing mid. We go back to this Baron here and know exactly what to do with it. And then you just have so much late game insurance as well in the likes of Chachi, and obviously also Power Vivo is so super strong on this virus.
Now every time I see the Unicorns play, and they play this well, where they slowly get this gold lead and then they control the game, I think, did they fix their mistakes? Are they finally consistent? And every time I think that, the next game they just straight up lose and they get snowballed on. However, they identify what the meta is, they play around it. They got punished for their weaknesses, but not to the extent where they lost the game. And beautiful mid game from that, honestly, from that 20-25 minute mark. They took control of the game, they used their composition well. Yeah, good game by the Unicorns.
Every time we want to talk about Unicorns being consistent, you're right. They do tend to prove us wrong, because you look at last week, they were 0-2. The week before that, 1-1. They haven't really had a full, awesome 2-0 week since week 2, but nonetheless, at the moment, they're on the cusp of beating out Origen. This is a massive, massive thing for them if they can pull it off. And I think they had a lot of preparation to think about how to deal with Origen and how to fluster and frustrate them. And now Amazing, he might be caught. He gets the kick back on Hilly. Kikis is still on him. Bardag's looking for him. Chains are going to land. Mithy, he's a little bit low being poked out, but he runs straight into Power of Evil. Headbutt Pulverize, and Power's down. We spoke too soon. Shut down courtesy of Niels. Right back in the base. He's got to be careful. But Amazing was already gone. It is a 1-for-1. Shock Blast still flying. Origen still defending.
They got super minions coming as well, but if Origen can just push Unicorns away, it might buy them a little bit more time. Beautiful play from Mithy. Getting Power of Evil, he didn't flash away from it. Ends up then dying and going down. So Unicorns again can slow down this a little bit. Double lifesteal though on Vardag, so he's quickly back to full HP just from being in these jungle camps.
I feel like we haven't talked about Vardags enough this game too, because he's definitely not what you would call the most traditional carry. He's not always doing the most damage for his team. However, this game, he's done exactly what he's needed to. 5-0-8 is a fantastic score, but that's not the whole story. He's really just been constantly applying that poke that Origen can always check into him.
And I feel like he's going for the infamous Randuin's Omen Corki fifth item right here, or sixth item rather, and I honestly don't think it's even that bad. Denies you some poke, slows down attack speed when Vaynes initiate on you, when Jace gets close to you. Soaz to an extent is auto-attack dependent.
Vardax is already committed to being very defensive in his build. Again, double lifesteal.
But there's enough damage already.
Exactly. So stick to it now because you have so much damage coming from the Rise, from the Varus, and then just play around that. Where Origen still want to try and find that AD carry, but it's not really Vardax you're looking for in this case here. It is Chachi, it is Power of Evil. And then just sit back if you play to the Ruined King and just do as much auto attack damage and poke as you can.
And honestly, as these games usually go long, kind of doesn't feel like we're 48 minutes in. It's been a very enjoyable game, back and forth a little bit, but not too many screw-ups to really call throws, in my opinion. Good game overall.
It's certainly been a roller coaster. You see that gold graph, that definitely was one. But Origen still have to contend with 2 waves of super minions, while a horde of unicorns, what would you call it, a pack? I'm not really sure, are down on the bottom. Let's call it a herd. Let's go with that.
He's going in.
Got the knock up, but he's going to be Rune Prison. Going to be chained up. And now he unchains himself, courtesy of Unbreakable Will. Hylissang's looking to go in. Vardags, he's going forward, but they forgot about Niels' power. We'll get the kill off. However, will it be enough? Unicorns getting a little bit cold feet here. Now they'll be backing right back in. One last inhibitor to try and keep the base pushing, but Origen holding the line.
It's so hard because Origen have to engage in 2 phases as Soaz gets caught.
Speaking of phases, Soaz is in some trouble. He throws down his ultimate onto Chachi. Won't be enough. Power's going to pick him up. Kick is not quite down. Hylissang kicked back, but they're not done. The Unicorns tag teaming their way in. The last inhibitor's down. The Nexus turrets are in sight. We're almost 50 minutes in. Can Peke and the rest of Origen hold them off? It doesn't look like it. The last Nexus turret, it's going down. The Nexus is bare, and the Power Ponies in pink will finish off Origen.
And honestly, for me, Hylissang was the MVP almost of this game. You saw it at the end right there when Niels was about to that final projectile. If he dashed in front, he blocked that projectile, destroyed it, kept his jungler alive. This is one of the many examples where Unbreakable came in. It's a good play overall. I feel like Origen kind of dug themselves a hole that they had to make deep enough to put the Unicorns in eventually, but 3,000 gold wasn't enough.
I just found it's somewhat strange, and obviously we're gonna have to go back and rewatch the game, and how Origen never really managed to commit to this 1-3-1 setup they had built towards with the Echo, even going Lich Bane second item, Vayne obviously coming in. That was how they wanted to play, but we saw them put a lot of focus on these dragons here and then stay around the mid lane, try and buy a little bit more time. That also allowed Unicorns then to have this Rise scale up to late game. And then one mistake in a comp like this from Origen, and it's so tough to do anything because once this Baron goes down, you can't defend for it, and that's where Unicorns really started getting far ahead in the game. Just never really enough reaction, in my opinion, from Origen once we got past this mid game.
Yeah, and they played very reactive at the same time. They weren't proactive at all. They weren't moving first, they weren't initiating anything. They got a couple of nice rotations and picks with Amazing controlling the early game and the tempo, but then Lee Sin needs more than that to be efficient. So far, I haven't been amazed by any Lee Sins except for maybe Jankos. One game kind of worked out, and the early game Rek'Sai doing wonders for Kiki's. Good zone control. Consistent in his performance. Where Kiki's usually was back in the day or in the past was kind of a wild card, question mark, TF jungle, Shaco hovers. He's now very consistent, I feel, for the Unicorns, and allows, together with Hylissang, them to build on a foundation and slowly start building up. There's still some plays where I feel Power Wheel could have flashed a little earlier, or, you know...
For both teams, honestly.
Some timings where they could have grouped up and played to their strengths, but overall, Unicorns look better.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and this is one of those games that makes you think, is the magic back? Is the razzle-dazzle still here?
Too early. Too early.
It's definitely early, but I have to say, I mean, this is a fantastic win over a team that has only dropped 2 so far, now 3. But also some very uncharacteristic mistakes from them. And I don't know how much maybe the Echo Nerfs had a little bit to do with it, just because he couldn't dive in and insta-gib somebody. But Soaz, I would say, definitely wasn't able to get as much done this game. And the Lee Sin on top of it for Amazing. At the end of the day, it just seemed like a strange composition pick from them.
Well, I mean, again, it's a skirmish comp that if they start snowballing early game, it might just run over what the Unicorns had. I don't think the Echo Nerfs had anything to do with what was going on. The blind pick Jace, obviously, you kept highlighting how strong Braum was in blocking the Shock Blast here. So by Origen very early, saying like, okay, we take the Jace, and it looked to us like, okay, they're building a bit of a poke comp, then completely changed it.
Switch directions. Because they didn't get the Janna, they went for the Alistar. And honestly, one could argue that the draft was in favor of the Unicorns, but there were still enough plays to be made in the game for Origen to get ahead, and they just didn't play to their strengths. However, there was a more complex composition to pull off. If you have to look and grade at how hard it is to play one comp versus the other, I feel Origen's was significantly harder to play and to pull off, and they kind of bit off more than they could chew.
But for both teams here, obviously, it's about making playoffs. Origen, they're still chasing, or well, they're even with H2K, fighting for that second place to get instantly into the semifinal. That's obviously their main objective. For Unicorns, at this point here, you don't even have to worry too much about anything other than make playoffs, because in a best out of 5 in the spring split, they were so much better than in the best out of 1s. They were always so inconsistent. Best out of 5, that's where they were very hard to prepare against, and that's obviously what they're aiming for, because you just gotta make Worlds if you're Unicorns of Love with all the points from spring.
Got to make Worlds indeed. So with that, we're going to go ahead and send it over to the analyst desk for a closer look at the Pink Ponies win over Origen.
Definitely a win for the Ponies Unicorns of Love versus OG, and we're joined here by Hylissang and Vizicsacsi after a fantastic win, and for me, kind of unexpected coming out of the weeks we've seen from you guys. Hilly, you were so instrumental with your Braum pick against that composition. Unravel the plan for us.
On first place, Jace is weak. We picked Braum because of Jace and Alistar. It's a good pick against both of them. Against Alistar, I can just Q him, and I force the ultimate, and then Alistar is weak. And against Jace, people just need to stand behind me, and I have to shoot. And that's the power of Braum. You just need to stay behind him, and I just shoot, and I negate like 1k damage, and we can win the fights afterward.
Yeah, you make it sound pretty easy. How is it in a game in that high-stress situation that you know I'm going to have to block this Jace Q before it hits my team, and you know that everything depends on it?
Well, it's mostly reflexes, and if I have vision, it's not so hard. Like I just need vision, and then we can pull it out.
Yeah, very convincing. You basically played catch with Xpeke for about 30 minutes of that game.
Exactly.
With the Shock Blast. Vizicsacsi, I want to move over to the top lane, because we've spoken a lot today about the fall of Maokai. How do you feel the top lane meta is right now?
Right now, I feel for top lane a lot of picks are viable, and it's going towards the carry top laners again a bit more. So Maokai and such are a bit falling out of the meta. They are still there, of course, because it's like a really solid pick. And in a lot of team compositions, it's still good. Like, everyone is playing poke nowadays, so some engage is really good, and Maokai's with Righteous Glory provides that, so it's still fine. Other than that, I think the carry top laners are rising as well, because there are a lot more squishy targets, and then you can just assassinate someone.
We've been theorizing also a lot about your role in the Unicorns. A lot of times in the spring, you were seen as that massive threat who sometimes played the crazy picks as well. Do you feel like this shift in the meta is going to benefit you the most?
Definitely, I like to play carry top laners as much as tanks as well. But yeah, whatever the meta is, you kind of have to adapt. So if it goes towards carry top laners, I will have to adapt as well and just leave the tanks behind.
Time to bring back Yorick. No. We'll
Don't
see.
say that. Hey, but you did get some wins on that, so it works as well. Finally, maybe with this meta shift, it looks like you found your groove more, as you were saying now as well. We've talked a lot about the fact that you guys may have the same scoreline as in spring, but you guys feel a little weaker to us. I'd love to have your view on that. Both of you, maybe Healy first.
Yeah, we're a bit shaky this split. Our shot calling is a bit confusing sometimes. We have like a lot of voices in our team
Team comps,
yeah, and our Baron Ashes are sometimes really weak. Like even in this game, we couldn't pull it out. Even though we got like 2 Nashes, it was a bit 50-50 because we did it, but I don't know.
I think it's fine. It was fine, but yeah, I think we are a bit shaky too. But we are showing a lot of progress nowadays in scrims, I think. And in communication as well, especially in this game, everything went really good. Like the communication rose to the top, everyone communicated everything down that we talked about before the game. So I'm hoping for a better, like a good start as well for tomorrow.
Yeah, typical Unicorns 0-2 week and beating OG or a top team in the week after. That's how we know you guys. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right, that was a fantastic game. We do have 1 game left to play as Elements will try and keep their momentum going against H2K. They're coming off an unprecedented 0-2 week. We'll be back in continuing coverage right after this.
Guys, once again, if we play like we play against each other in solo queue, we're gonna win, okay? And think like if we win this game, we gain elo, so it's fine.
Let's win this game, boys.
That's the biggest motivation.
Like,
So Misty gets a massive knockup. They knock Healy into tower. It's still tanking the line as he takes down Soaz. Origen coming in. Can they stop this one? Shock blast is huge. In comes Soaz. Can he finish the job? Niels trying to kite around, move around.
She's dead. Lee! Nice!
Speaking of phases, Soaz is in some trouble. He throws down his ultimate onto Chachi. Won't be enough. Power's gonna pick him up.
And the Power Ponies in pink will finish off Origen.